Well, guys, Saturn is about to go retrograde on the 18th of April 2018 and will be retrograde until the 6th of September 2018. So, quite a bit of time. Um, and of course, we are going to explore this topic in this video. For all of you who don't know, who may be newer to astrology of planets, going retrograde means that it seems to be moving backward in the sky because of the position of Earth relative to the Sun, relative to the planet. Kind of an oversimplification there, but we don't have time for much more than that because we want to explore some more profound topics on what this planetary retrograde may bring. Now, I trust that many of you have already felt the effect of Saturn moving into Capricorn in December 2017, because this would be a more noticeable transit of Saturn. It's not like Saturn moving from Scorpio to Sagittarius, let's say. Now Saturn in December 2017 has entered into its own sign, which is Capricorn. It comes here once every 29 years, so it's a bit of a more of a rare event. Okay, so this is important. Again, changes on the world stage have definitely been felt, and on a personal level, again, I trust that you guys have felt the effects of this transit. Now, what I'm going to talk about in this video is going to be a bit of a general outlook. If you want something personal, if you want something just for you, you need to go to the links in the bio where you will find the page where you can book a half-hour or 1-hour live video consultation with me, and we can explore any topics relating to astrology, your natal charts, transits, and whatever else. Now, Saturn is going retrograde in its own sign of Capricorn. Retrograding planets, first of all, what changes with retrograding planets? Well, the matters that they are involved in either are put on pause or they start manifesting more unconventionally, more awkwardly, more unexpectedly. Okay, usually with Saturn retrograde, we would say that some of the limitations, some of the burdens, the responsibilities that Saturn places on us are going to get lighter during this period. However, it's not the case for absolutely everyone. This again goes back to your natal charts and what Saturn seeks to do during this period in your natal chart according to transits and to planetary time cycles and various other things. Now, in Capricorn, I spoke in an earlier video about boundaries, which is the keyword for Saturn, and selectivity, which is the keyword for Capricorn, right? Saturn rules Capricorn, boundaries rules selectivity. They go together, right? Being selective about something is applying boundaries to the things that you choose. That's being selective by definition. So, whether in our personal life, in the collective, political life, society, whatever else, this is about enforcing boundaries, also testing boundaries, especially now with Mars joining Saturn during this period in Capricorn. It will be a lot about testing boundaries, enforcing boundaries, displacing boundaries, all right? And we understand how this plays out on a world political level, but on a personal level as well, our boundaries are tested. The selectivity with which we apply our boundaries. And this speaks of discipline. This speaks of order. This speaks of patience and mindfulness and being organized and, wise in a practical sense about the things that we engage in. So, okay, we've had a taste of Saturn going into Capricorn. Look at the house where it transits in your natal chart. Look at the things that Saturn naturally rules, generally and in your natal chart. And mix those together and figure out, okay, so regarding these things, what has Saturn produced for me since December? You should have gotten a taste of that by now. Now it's time to revisit those things. Now it's time to see kind of not the result, because the final result of these things is far away. Saturn still has 2 years to transit Capricorn. All right, so Saturn is up to a lot while it transits here. This is just the tip of the iceberg. But analyze what has happened up until now. What are the changes that have come about? And during this period, most of you guys may feel a bit easier about these things. Okay, especially if they were promising to be a bit challenging in the beginning, you may feel easier about these things. If, however, Saturn going into Capricorn seems to have organized some things favorably in your life, it may be that now with the retrograde, it's going to say, Saturn is going to say, well, wait a minute. So you like this? Well, here's what I want you to do in order to maintain this. And you need to figure out what are the things that you need to do in order to maintain whatever situation Saturn has brought into your life, if that situation is favorable, right? Retrogrades are always a period of reorganizing, rethinking, reestablishing. Okay. Again, it's a time of taking a break, of taking a step back. All of these kinds of things have their place during planetary retrogrades. And let's not forget, of course, that Jupiter is also retrograde during most of this Saturn retrograde. Saturn and Jupiter will be retrograding at the same time, and they're not the only planets, okay? Go see my video on Jupiter retrograde. Depending on various factors, again, in your natal chart, you can have Jupiter, which is more important in your natal chart to consider, especially in transits, than Saturn is. Or for some people, Saturn may be more important. It all depends, okay? So this is just one planet, one transit, and I'm talking about these things without placing them in the context of any ascendant sign, any natal placements, anything, okay? So this is meant to be very general. But if you know your natal chart, if you're familiar with it, you should be able to piece this together into something useful, okay? Now, there's a lot that will be happening during this Saturn retrograde. Mars is in Capricorn, it's exalted in Capricorn, but as we've seen, and as I've spoken of before Mars went into Capricorn, Saturn seems to be dominating this dynamic. Even though Mars is exalted, Saturn still rules the sign. Okay, so Saturn is boss in Capricorn. It's going to rule Mars. But Mars is likely to cause some trouble, especially with one's boundaries. Now, Mars will be the boundary tester in Capricorn with Saturn. It's up to you when your boundaries are tested. In any way, okay? Your discipline is tested. Your patience is tested. Your sense of being organized is tested. Your sense of interpersonal boundaries with people and situations. If you feel that these are tested, it's up to you during this Saturn retrograde not to try to stiffen them up in the way that they already are. You need to revisit them. You need to revisit them and rethink them, reorganize them a bit, and then concretize them, then enforce them. If some boundary in your life, if some system of discipline, if some order in your life, if some work, if some responsibility, if some hardship, things represented by Saturn, if some of these are proving not so efficient during this Saturn retrograde, then this is your chance to go revisit, reorganize, reestablish those boundaries, and reinforce those new ones, okay? This is really the best advice that I can give you, and this is applicable to a vast a wide range of situations, across a wide range of situations. So do try to apply this. I'm sure that for many people, this is a common theme in some area of their life, again, which will be indicated by your Saturn house placement, your Saturn rulership in your chart, cycles, and whatever else. Again, for some, you may want to look to Jupiter more. For some, you may even want to look to Mars, especially if Mars is a sole planet in your chart, or Mars is activated in your planetary time cycles. So it's not necessary that this retrograde is going to be the most, important for everyone, but usually you want to pay attention more. You want to pay a bit more attention to what Saturn and Jupiter are doing in transits. Saturn goes retrograde as the Sun conjuncts Uranus. Uranus is about to go into Taurus. That's something that we need to talk about before that happens. So sometime at the end of April, we will talk about Uranus entering Taurus, because we are in for some freaky energy with that. I'm not going to lie to you. And we have a lot to talk about. Many other planetary cycles and transits will occur during this Saturn retrograde and after that. So make sure to follow me on Instagram, where I post written posts describing the energy of transits and likely effects and whatnot. And subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because again, we do have much more to talk about. And we will have a lot to talk about throughout summer, because this is going to be a very active and intense summer for sure. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget to check out the links in the description. And yeah, enjoy your Saturn retrograde.